This is the Eventide Omnipressor, which is not your typical dynamic processor. This unit combines the function of an analog compressor, an expander, a noise gate, and a limiter, all in one convenient packaging. And today we're going to push it to the limit using a stereo application. Let's talk about it. What's up? Archie Beatz here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my home studio. As I mentioned today, we have the powerful Omnipressor here. And honestly, this has been one of the most interesting compressors, dynamic processors that I ever got my hands on, because this unit is equipped with a dynamic reversal feature, which gives you the ability to reconstitute or reanimate the dynamics in a recording. And it's definitely living up to the original Omnipressor. And I can really say, out of the top 3 dynamic processors that I've ever gotten my hands on, this is one of the most versatile tools. It's a Swiss Army knife. This thing has multiple settings, multiple applications. Listen, you could use it as a vocal chain compressor. You could use it as a stereo bus compressor, a master bus compressor, which is really interesting. And one of my favorite features about this unit is what comes with it, them explaining compression. This is really funny. And this is from one of the original creators of the actual unit itself, and I think this is really cool. We're not going to waste any time. Let's go ahead and put this on a stereo drum bus and a bass guitar after we go over the features and the physical build that's on board here and the inputs and outputs. Let's check it out. Okay, here we go. This is the stereo setup right here, and today's video is brought to you by Sweetwater Sound. Sweetwater is the largest music retailer in the United States, and you can also check out other cool things from Eventide. They are some really intelligent and cool people over there, so be sure to check them out. Let's go over the controls. First, we have our threshold, which is known as the input threshold. This control determines the operating point of the Omnipressor. So whether you are -15, -25, +5, +15 on your threshold, which works in conjunction with your ratio over here for the comp, but we're going to talk about that when we get to that control. Next here, you have your line. This switch here puts your Omnipressor in and out of the audio circuit. When the LED is off, the unit is completely relay bypassed. Next, we have our input here. Our input, this controls the signal that's coming in. And here we have our attack time. We have the milliseconds here. It's sweepable. You can dial in those points in between to taste. And then we have our bass cut here, basically determining the low frequency response of the level detector circuit. Right here, we have our mix. Very important knob here. This gives us the ability to control the wet and dry of the actual compressor in the audio circuit. That's awesome, right? This is hardware with a mix knob on it. That's great. And then we have next to that our release time, 100 millisecond, 1 millisecond, and 1 second. You see there with the release right there. And then we have our side chain. Remember the side chain switch? This enables the external side chain if connected. If you have your side, you have to have your side chain connected at the back, which we're going to go through the connections at the back, and we're going to explain that at the back here. Then we have our meter. I normally have my meter set to gain, and this you have input, gain, and output. And then of course you have this LED here is very important because it works in conjunction with the function switch over here, which is the expander and also the compressor. When you have it more on this side, this will light up green. We have it more on the compressor side. We have our gain, which is going to turn red. Then we have our meter here. And then of course we have our function knob over here. This is really cool. You have your compressor on this side, then you have your expander on this side. The compressor, it determines the unit basic mode of operation. When you turn this knob here, your compressor is initiated with your ratios. You see those points right there? That is actually your ratio. And when you go on this side, this is pretty much your expander. As you can see, when I turn it this way, it turns bright red, it illuminates more. When you go more over to the compressor side, and when you go over here to your expander, you see that it is turning more green over on this side. So it's pretty cool because you can do a dynamic reversal collaborating with other switches and knobs on this unit here. You can bring your dynamics back or you can squash it. And then we go over here to our attenuating limiter. This controls the limit of the maximum attenuation of the Omnipressor. In its fully counterclockwise position, we have 30 decibel of gain reduction. It's available. When it's fully clockwise, the maximum attenuation will be at about 1 decibel. decibel. Now, the attenuation limits override the function control. It overrides this knob here, so keep that in mind. We have our link switch here, which we are going to show you guys how to connect the link and then how to set that up. This links the unit. This switches enable unit to unit linking. In its down position, the LED is disabled. When it's up in red, it's on. Very important though, none of these switches are actually linked. The only thing that's being linked is the gain reduction that's applied. You have to actually manually change the controls to get them as close as possible. And then right here we have our output, and then we have our gain limit here. This control limits the maximum gain of the Omnipressor. Now, in its full counterclockwise position, you get that 30 decibel of gain available. The attenuation limiter is for gain reduction, and the gain limit is just specifically for gain. When it's fully clockwise, the maximum gain will be at 1 decibel, not gain reduction, the maximum gain. This control also overrides the function control as well. It overrides this, so keep that in mind. And then we have our power switch here, which is at the front. I love power switches at the front. So here is the back of the unit here, and we have it completely configured into my audio interfaces here. First thing we want to go over is the actual line input. These line inputs here are transformer isolated, which are balanced and unbalanced plus 4 dBu line input, and it accepts XLR or TRS, tip, ring, sleeve. So we're using tip, ring, sleeve. And then next to that is our side chain. Our side chain in and out are active, balanced, and unbalanced plus 4 dBu side chain inputs and outputs. They also accept XLR and TRS. Only one should be connected. And then next to that, you guys see we have our line out. We also have that connected. That's in our configured setup here. The line out is also transformer isolated with balance or unbalanced plus 4 dBu line output. And this also accepts XLR, TRS connection. Only one should be used at one time. And then here we have our linking. So let me explain to you guys the linking. You're basically linking multiple units in a stereo and multimodal setup. You can use TS or TRS patch cables. And how you connect this is you take the output of this unit here and go to the input with this cable, and then you take the out and you go into the input of that unit, and they are configured. You're basically just looping it. Let's start with some drums, and we're going to play around with some compression, and then we're going to pause and jump to the linking. Let's start from 1. And as you all can see, you can create some really dynamic sounding drums and a really dynamic sounding song by keeping the actual units separate, but adjusting them with just a little human error, just being slightly off with the compression on one or the other unit. It could create a really nice dynamic and nice wide sound. When it's linked, check this out. The linking feature doesn't link any of these controls on board the Omnipressor. None of these switches are actually linked. The only thing that's being linked is the gain reduction that's applied. You have to actually manually change the controls to get them as close as possible. Let's get some linking going. See that? Now let's try some bass. Like to hear that, the bass. And there we have it, the Omnipressor in its full glory. If you all have any questions about the Omnipressor, be sure to comment your questions below. We also have a vocal chain video that's dropping, so you guys can check that out as well. And you definitely want to be here for the vocal chain video, and also the Omnipressor plugin versus the actual Omnipressor unit itself. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss another video. And a huge thank you to Sweetwater for sponsoring today's video, and be sure to comment your questions below. Don't forget to be great and create. This is your boy Archie Beatz, and I am signing off.